Hey Willa, how's it going? Hope all is well. Hope you had a good weekend. And I have been putting together a few ideas for movements for you to do. I meant to get this out to you yesterday, but man, day just got away from me. But yeah, so I just wanted to give you a few movements to think about. And I think what we walked away with is knowing that, stability wise is still an issue, right? We're going to be playing with that in different ways. How you sit down in a chair, how you get out of a chair, and just kind of how you start moving. Um, I do think that, practicing the walk down the hallway with sticks is still just going to be a little more gait specific. I think when you're holding on to the walker with one arm, you're experiencing some soreness here. I think that's hard to manage. But sticks are going to allow you to stay squared and open chest and tall and do that. And I think that practice is always good. So I guess I would kind of nudge you to go that route as well. And then maybe another alternative is not the walker down here, right? But just sliding your hand against the wall while you walk. So that could be another way to kind of play with that. I'm loving the fact that you're not having any low back spasms, and that your bridges look great. So we're going to keep with those bridges, but if you remember, we're going to try to work those up to 20 reps. So we're at 10 now, right? So let's start there. So I think the rocks are great. Continue doing those rocks. Then I would do my bridges, and in all three positions, right? I'm trying to nudge that up, maybe adding a rep at a time, and feel free to take a week and a half worth of workouts doing the bridges to make your way up to a new volume. So, maybe you do 11s, right? 11 normal bridge, staggered positions, and then next week you bump up to 12. The idea is that you keep that nice high quality you have, and that when you drive up, you keep that extension without arching your low back and feeling irritation in the spine. Because I think if you do, that's what's going to trigger those back spasms, right? So I would do the rocks, I would do the bridges, then I would have you up, and I would do my calf stretch. So the two stretches, right? Calf stretch is one. We were using that desk, and you had a good stretch here. And so the difference between the calf stretch and a hip flexor stretch is in a calf stretch, I'm leaning forward, and my goal is to stretch the low leg. That's my goal there, right? So I would hold that for 60 seconds, and then I would switch to the other side, right? So stretching both calf muscles out. Then we're going to go hip flexor stretch. And so that's the one where you're standing, right? Very similar to what we just did, except for from the waist up, you're vertical. And that stretch now happens at the front of the hip of the trailing leg, right? The reason why I want you to do the calf stretch first is to be in this position sometimes can challenge that low leg, and then it prevents you from getting a stretch out of the hip. So do your calf stretch first, then I would get into this, right? I'm still very much in a hip width position, tail tucked under, drifting forward to create that stretch. And I would hold that for 60 seconds as well, right? As long as there's no pain and you can stay in the stretch, great. And then you'd switch, and you'll do that same thing. But when I get in it, I do want to make sure that I'm not arching my low back, right? And that I feel a stretch in the front of the hip. And same thing here, holding for 60 seconds. Sometimes when you're pulling the tissue tight in a stretch, it can make you a little balance-wise off. So I would use a wall. You're not going to take away from the stretch, but you will maybe calm down the stimulus so you can stay in that stretch, right? And just hold in that position. 60 seconds both sides. So Then our movements, right? The major strength movements that we're changing a little bit. I think your plank is great. You can kind of keep working that a little bit here and there from the forearms, right? But our two big strength moves are the hinge and the row. And Mike was telling me that he dropped off a band to you, which I'm very happy about. So the hinge first was this guy. So we had hands on the desk, and you were pushing your tail back, right? Trying to get the center of your hip joint behind your heels, and then climbing out, right? So that, you kept saying that you could feel a stretch in your hamstrings, and that's a good sign that you're actually getting the hinge. If I just go forward, and my hips don't go behind my heels, then I'm going to feel low back, and that's going to be more triggering to the back spasms. So the whole reason why we're doing this is to get better at pushing our hips back and climbing up, right? So keeping that back fairly neutral, trying to get level to the floor is first step. Second step is going to be crossing the hands, right? And being able to get that same deal now without support. But I want you to make sure that you're really good to go. You know, get a few workouts of just using support still and trying to get level to the floor. We're not quite there yet. Once we get there, once you get there, then the next step will be here, and that'll be a new challenge. But you want that stretch in the hamstrings. And I would keep that to 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps. I think that's good practice, and you seem to be doing really well with it with no pain. If there's any questions or irritation with it, please let me know right away, and we'll change that up. The second big strength move is your row. And so Mike dropped off a red band with handles. And I haven't looked at the picture of your machine yet, but anything you could loop that band through, right? Like if you could put it around a bar, right? And then hold both handles and stand back, and from there get a little pull. That would be great. You could be careful around a doorknob or anything that could slip off of. Obviously, we don't want that to come off and hit you. But what we're looking for is somehow to anchor that around something, have a good wide stance with a little bend in the knees, and to really pull back with both arms, not arching the back, but squeezing the shoulder blades together and open the chest. Right? Big exhale as you pull. That is going to strengthen that upper back, and it's going to help with the posture. And I'm exaggerating right here, but if I'm more prone to leaning forward like this, right, that too is going to pull on that low back. So what we're looking for is, to get balance and to be able to stand up tall, at the same time strengthen those posture muscles. Okay? So for that one, I would do 3 sets of 10. Now the band itself is a set tension, so to make it harder, you're going to inch back a little bit, right? So if I step back a 1/4 inch, that's going to make that resistance harder, right? So take note kind of where you are, maybe how far you are from the anchor point once you find one, and then you can kind of adjust from there, yeah? Okay, so we got our calf stretch, we had our hip flexor stretch, we had our rocks still in the beginning with our bridges. We're nudging those up. We're standing up, we're getting our hinge, and we're getting our row. That right there is pretty good. And I'd like you to take the archer row out, right? We don't need that one. The squats seem like they're still they're just too much to be practicing, right? But my hope is that as you keep doing the bridges, that those glutes get stronger, and so it's not so impactful on the burst up. Yeah, so for now, that's what I would do. And then obviously you're doing your time on the machine, whether it's, I think 20 minutes you were saying. I think that's great. If you do find something some kind of other cable machine down in your gym that you can row, that would be great too, because then you could start adjusting the weight. And if we were in a studio, that would be one thing for sure I would be doing with you. So anyways, if you have any questions, Willa, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to send this off to you, and then we'll find another time to connect, and we'll see how this is going. Okay, have a good day. Bye.